in a small town named Chinneville, surrounded by a vast forest. There worked a kind and dedicated nurse named Evelyn. At 75 years old, she had spent over 50 years in the hospital taking care of the sick and helping those in need. Every day, she would ride her blue scooter along the winding forest road to the hospital, a ride she cherished, as the tranquility of the forest was a balm to her soul, a stark contrast to the hectic pace of her life. Tonight, however, a prickle of unease ran down her spine. The usual chirping of crickets seemed muted, replaced by an unsettling silence. She glanced at her rearview mirror, but she saw nothing out of the ordinary. Ahead, she saw a figure emerge from the trees, a young man, tall and slender. He was leaning against a large oak tree. Seemingly lost in thought, he looked harmless enough, just a young man, enjoying the evening air. As she passed him, she noticed a cruel smile playing on his lips. Her breath hitched. She increased her scooter's speed and didn't look back, the engine struggling to get over the incline. The man watched her go. He was known only as Sillars in the hushed whispers of local police, a phantom haunting the forest roads. His victims consisted mostly of people traveling alone on the forest path at night. On the outskirts, in a farmhouse, Evelyn's grandson Mark waited anxiously. He'd called his grandmother several times, but her phone went straight to voicemail. He knew his grandmother's routine. She always returned by 10 p.m. at night, but today it was past 10 with no signs of Evelyn. Meanwhile, in the forest, Sealers watched Evelyn beaming through the road from a distance. He has chosen his victim, an elderly woman alone. Vulnerable, an easy target, he enjoyed the thrill of the chase, the power he wielded over their lives. Evelyn soon crossed the incline now. What awaited her was a winding road ahead, to her farmhouse outside the town. But suddenly she heard a pop sound. One of her tires had gone flat. She parked her scooter to check the tire and opened her boot to take out her old flashlight made out of metal to shine on the tire. She looked around to see what could have caused it. She quickly found the reason. A few nail bits kept on the road. She thought to herself, maybe some kids might have kept it on the road for fun. Evelyn then decided to walk the rest of the road and collect her scooter in the morning. It was roughly a 50 minutes walk from the scooter to her farmhouse, and on the 20 minutes mark, she will cross a cemetery which the locals used to bury their loved ones. After walking for around 10 minutes, suddenly Evelyn heard a sound from behind as she turned to look. She saw the same tall, slender man behind her. He was holding a hunter's knife in his hand. Upon seeing the glint of the knife, Evelyn soon understood the motive of this man, a killer on the hunt of his prey. She darted on the road towards the cemetery in hopes of catching someone leaving the place after paying tribute to their loved ones, or at least the nightly cemetery guard James on duty. But upon reaching the cemetery, to her horror, there was no living soul to be found near the cemetery. Evelyn hid herself behind one of the gravestones in the hopes of avoiding the hunter. In less than 5 minutes, Sealers also entered the cemetery, looking around for any signs of his target. Scared of the hunter, suddenly, Evelyn fumbled the torch in her hand, which slipped and fell on the ground, causing it to get lit from the impact. Evelyn quickly tried, picking up the torch from ground to shut it off, but as she brought the torch close to her horror, the face of Sealers suddenly came in front of her, with torch lighting up his face. The grin on his face was spooky enough to scare any grown person. Evelyn, in a fit of panic, let go of the torch, and in that moment, Sealers swung the knife on Evelyn's throat. A gush of blood rushed down Evelyn's body, choking the word help in her mouth, and her face gasping for air. In the morning, the police arrived, their sirens wailing through the stillness of the dawn. The forest, once a place of peace, was now a scene of horror. The investigation began. The detectives pieced together the fragments of the tragic event. The case baffled the police for months. Sealers continued his deadly game, his presence a chilling reminder of the unseen danger lurking in the forest.